Hi, I'm Angelia Crane.
And I'm Anthony Crane, and this is the Grace Exchange. Our hope is to bring focus to the faithfulness of God in bringing us through life and ministry stories that will make us laugh and maybe even cry. Join us in our story of amazing grace that led us to this restful freedom that we have. This is the Grace Exchange.
This topic that we're going to talk about today is how Anthony and I met and our love story. I always liken our love story to Anne of Green Gables because it's kind of how it was, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was annoying Gilbert.
Yes, you are.
And I was always ornery to you. Anne, Julia.
Well, and you did pull my pigtails, but you did live next door to me. Yeah. We grew up together. So the first time I ever met you was when you were 6 years old, and you guys had moved across the street and brought a brand new trailer and they put it in on the property there across the street. And that's the first time I think that I met you and your family.
Yeah.
I was probably how old was I? Let's see.
Probably around nine somewhere. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we grew up together, not just across the street, but in the same town and the same church.
Right.
So his family went to the same church as my family. My dad was part of the leadership, and his father was part of leadership over children. And he had a great ministry. Your dad was amazing.
Yep.
I loved your dad. He was a really, really cool dad.
Yes, passion for children's ministry, bus ministry, picking up children that didn't have a ride or have parents to bring them. And he would use his Saturdays to go, knock on doors back in the day, try to ride his bike up and down the street, just connecting with different kids that were sort of like detached. They needed love and help, and that seemed to be the ones, but he could fill a whole bus up. He would do
he could.
Candy range, snow cones, you name it.
Give free coats away. Mm-hmm. He just had a really compassionate heart. So that's how I knew your family. And you guys were really your mother especially is an amazing cook. Mm-hmm. She's actually an amazing baker as well. But she was famous not only for her cinnamon rolls, but she was also famous for her peanut brittle.
Yeah.
To this day.
Yeah.
We get tons of orders for Joanne's peanut brittle. And it's not your sticky kind of peanut brittle that you find in the stores.
It's not gooey. It's perfectly crunchy with the right amount of air in it, and it's just amazing. Yeah. Exactly.
It's just very light, and I love it. But anyway, she is a great, great baker, and I just remember as a kid, she always had the things going at home. It seemed like she was. One time I came over, and I don't know what the reason was for, but I came over from my mom or something. Amazing food.
Yeah.
I think that night you guys had tacos.
Tacos. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So you didn't really like me. You just wanted a taco.
Well, you were 6 years old. 7. No, actually, think about us as kids.
Yeah.
There was no attraction. We were kids.
No, we were having a blast just playing out in the yard and goofing off is always that.
And there was these fields back behind our house that we go on adventures, and there was a creek there, and it was fun playing in the fields, walking up the creeks. I was a big dreamer, still am, but so I would have my heads in the cloud and just be thinking about this, that, and the other, and creating things. And you would be over there building things, like you built your tree house. Mm-hmm. And then you had another fort too. Didn't you have another fort over there?
Well, I built a little campfire area. I just gathered a bunch of stones underneath the tree house, and I was thinking I'm just going to have and I was trying to figure out how I could spend the night in there like a camp out sort of thing. And I don't know, it was just a fun using my dad's extra lumber because we,
Yeah.
it was really dangerous because the tree wasn't really big enough to hold. But it was a blast, and our neighbor kids, we just thought that was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the other part of our connection, and that is we would go to the same church together.
Yes.
Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. And so being a small church, we were used very early in age because if you had any musical talent or vocal talents, they would, ask you to help. And so even at that early age, you're learning instruments, you're getting to use your vocal gifts if you can sing. And so we were connecting on another level too, not just as neighbors, but the church connection. Our parents went to the same, so there was that.
Yeah, your family was quite musical. Your mother played the piano. Mm-hmm. Your dad sang wonderful. And you sang, you still do, amazing. And back then, though, you'd sing real high, like a really high tenor. But you guys would sing like family songs together, was really cool at church. And then my dad played the trumpet. And then my dad and I would sing duets together. Music has always been a really big part of our life. But for those who do not know, I am 3 years older than Anthony. So that makes a big deal when you're teenagers or like as kids, like 3 years old. You're like a little kid, Teenager, a 15-year-old is not going to date a 12-year-old. You know what I mean? I mean, some do. I don't know. Yeah. I had my sights like Anna Green Gables,
Yeah.
I'm getting out of this little podunk town. I'm tired of being poor. I'm going to go get an education. I'm going to do something great.
Yeah. I didn't really think about girls too much anyway at that age because at 12, 13, 14, I'm in baseball, football, and just involved in just riding bikes and just action, always moving, doing something, running around. So there was just that part of my life right there. And then, I don't know, it was the way I connected to ministry and to God around 13, 14, 15. I just decided, I'm going to focus on that. Yeah. And I mean, I noticed girls, I noticed you, but at that age, our age difference was where we didn't really think about that until a little later. And you want to tell how that happened in Bolivar?
So we're still neighbors at this time. Mm-hmm. And my dad had found a xylophone for me. The Singing Bib family came through and they had a xylophone. So I'm like, oh, I want a xylophone. Well, Dad ended up finding one for me and he got it going and created it. And it was wonderful. And I had it on the front porch. So I was just playing away my xylophone. I was just having a good time. And you had seen me, right? So you tell me.
Mm-hmm. So I'm in my bedroom. It was still daylight outside. I'm not sure what time it was, but I just remember looking out the window and seeing her kind of like hiking her legs up and playing the xylophone like she was in a band or a marching band or something. And I go, there was this is the weirdest thing ever. It's like a weird thought out of my little teenage brain that says, someday I'm going to marry her. And I go, I mean, come on. Right? That's the weirdest thing ever to think about when there's never been any connection beyond just church and, friends. So that was weird. And then it just kind of a passing thought and moved on. And that'll come into play later in the story when we talk about Bolivar, because that was another moment.
That's true. Do you remember the Sunday that there's two major stories that kind of happened when we kind of lived across from each other? I was in my bedroom and I was getting ready for church. Normally, we would have been outside playing in the front yard, especially my brother. But I guess we had an early thing that went on. We were supposed to be there early for church. I kept hearing this car or something spinning gravel. And so I looked out the front of the window of the house, which was where my bedroom was. I looked out, and there was a car headed right towards me. And I run out and I'm screaming. About that time, my mom, she hears it too. She hears me screaming. Well, my brother now is with my mother in the living room. And when I left, as soon as I left, the car went right into my bedroom. And so we literally could see the car go in from our living room off the porch. You remember what?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the exact timeline. I don't think we were home at the time, but when I came back and found out what had happened, it was this feeling of I don't know, protectiveness, love, like what would have happened if she, it was just this weird, I never felt that, right? It was that feeling. So I do remember sort of that moment, like that is very odd feeling to have, you know.
Yeah.
Very different.
We grew up together, so I would see you ride your Huffy bikes up and down the road. You would see me, I don't know, was I doing cartwheels out there? I know I did a lot of cartwheels.
Probably hanging from a tree branch or something.
Flips, because I was I still am, an outdoor girl. Spent majority of my time outdoors.
Yeah.
Love feminine things and pretty things and love stuff like this, very feminine. Bows and ribbons and teas and everything flowery. But there was a sporty. So I played basketball and in school. Love sports. Love to run. I was a runner. I did not run in school track, but I ran the fields. I felt free that way. And I remember as a kid that I could leap over huge, like tall fences and felt invincible as a kid. I was very limber and just, anyway, about, the later on how we connected, because there was no way. I mean, I did not look at you any kind of love interest, and you may have felt something, but you never did, It was
it was a passing thought.
Yeah.
5-10 seconds probably. But later in Bolivar, we had some sort of, I don't know all the churches that were there, but we had multiple churches that would come to a gym we rented in Bolivar.
Well, before that, we had moved away.
Oh, you guys were in Lebanon at the time?
Our family had moved to Lebanon.
Okay, so you...
And your family had moved to Crane.
Crane, that's right. Mm-hmm. Okay, I forgot that part.
Yeah, so... And hadn't seen each other, 5 years, you think?
I don't know. I don't know how long. Let's see.
I
don't know. 3 or 4 years maybe, because I was 16 or so at the time that the Bolivar thing. So we left Buffalo...
It might have been 3 years.
Around 87.
Yeah, I think you're right.
88, I don't know. But
it just felt longer. I don't know why.
Yeah. Because the rally thing, I don't remember how it was, but it was like a basketball skating or something. I don't know what all was doing in there.
I was in Columbia.
Right. You came down with some friends, right?
Right. I came down with Virginia and Chrissy. Mm-hmm. And we were there for a rally, I think. And then after the rally, there was a skating rink at the gym, at a church gym.
Okay.
But before that was like another time. I think what really impacted us was my mom says to me, I had come back from Columbia to Buffalo, and my mom says that they're having a rally, and if I wanted to go. And so I said, yes, I'll go. So we went to the Buffalo rally, and for those who don't know what a rally is, it's when all the local churches of that particular denomination get together and they have fellowship. They'll have a church service, and then afterwards they'll have something to eat. And that's kind of how we stay connected to the local churches, and you made friends, and we had a whole lot of fun. When I got there, they ran to me and they said, we do not have anybody to play the organ. Can you play the organ for us? I remember that. So I said, yes, I can. So I'm up there kind of slowly playing the organ, or not. I can't remember what I was playing. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I do remember this. I remember everybody was doing their fellowship in the church, and then the service was about to start. And It was a country church, and it had a basement. And in the back, you could see from the pulpit, you could see where the downstairs would go down or up. And I remember looking back there, and I saw this black-headed guy come up the stairs way in the back. And the more that I kept looking, kept getting taller and taller and taller. And he had, came around, had a slick suit on. And I was like, wait, no, that's Anthony. I had no idea that you would be there.
Yeah.
And come to find out.
I was hot. I don't remember a lot about that. Probably because I was nervous about the service and I was focused on whatever.
Well, you were the speaker that night.
So, yeah, that was probably, what year would that have been then? I'm definitely still a teenager at that point.
Yes.
Yeah, that's...
Yep.
I don't remember all the details on that one. But yeah, so I got your attention then, didn't I, in a different way?
In a different way, yeah, because you were grown up then. And I hadn't seen you for 3.5 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And you hadn't seen me either. And so we had kind of matured and taken responsibility for some of our growth. So later on, we did have another time. And that's when I came back with Virginia and Christy. Okay. And we went to the skating rink.
Yeah.
And then that's when you and I started connecting. And we had a kind of a first date.
The piano. So I was just barely learning a few little licks, and I pretended not to know some things, or I was asking her for some tips. And so I just remember your hands were sort of touching mine, like, oh, this is the key of F or something. And I just remember sort of that butterfly feeling or something. It was like, and I didn't know if you were feeling it or not, or if you were, I didn't know what you were. I don't know if did we eat there or.
Well, you asked me.
What did I ask you?
You asked me was it McDonald's?
Wait, I think it was Hardee's or Burger King or something in Bolivar.
Yeah, in Bolivar. Mm-hmm.
I think it was Hardee's or Burger King. And did we go?
Yeah. You bought my meal.
It really?
Yeah, it was like a hamburger. Our first mini date was a cheeseburger.
Yummy.
Oh my goodness. So from that there on, basically it was, since you lived in Crane and you were pursuing ministry and God, and I was in Columbia and I was going to college, also working in the local church there. I wanted to connect with you, but we basically became pen pals. Mm-hmm. That was the time, no cell phones, no internet, nothing like that. So we would write back and forth.
Yeah.
And we did that for how long?
This was the kind of Anne and Green Gables parallel, because there was a building of written letters back and forth. I was very poetic. I was trying to figure out how to communicate as a minister. And so I would use the most important words I could possibly put together, and I would think of romantic ways to communicate. There was no internet to help me either. It was all like whatever.
Pure talent.
Maybe, but I do remember that part of you even said that, you just love reading my letters and stuff.
Your letters were so beautiful, and it really touched my heart because they were spiritual. I knew you and I knew your family, so I felt safe, because I thought, well, I know him. Also, too, I could see so much potential. Like, we had conversations where you didn't want to stay in poverty, which was very important to me. You wanted to succeed and excel, and you had goals, which is very important to me, too. You wanted to get out of your comfort zone. You wanted to really have a great relationship with Christ and grow. And, he was first, which was so impressive. You were like on fire for Jesus. And I loved that.
Yeah.
So that was very attractive. And then your letters, you could sing and play. You've always been an amazing singer. You are an amazing speaker. Always have people, they're like on the edge of the seat listening to what you have to say, because it's a talent. It's what God has given you. You had so many great qualities that drew me to you that I think that's why there was an attraction. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I felt that you were young.
Oh,
still.
Yeah.
And it bothered me I was 3 years older than you. And that makes a big deal. Now, when you're in your 20s and 30s, 40s, that is not big. But when you're teenagers or young 20s, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
So I do remember thinking, he's probably not even hardly dated. And at that time, I had been in Columbia. I had been around St. Louis and been around some things and had dated different people. I never had gotten really serious. I didn't find myself, all in that relationship at that time. I had, weird high standard. It probably was just a safety thing for me. Prayerful. He's got to be somebody who dresses nice. And all of these things I thought were so important at that time.
Well, what attracted me to you was your love for children, was a good quality that I look for in a future wife. If I were thinking wife here, so if I were thinking wife material, that was important. You also had an emotional maturity that I had not found in girls of my age. They seem to be really weird playing games, or just emotionally children are, or young teenagers are. So there was that. And I just thought I couldn't somehow relate to them. And because I loved, like, conversations to me were part of my love language. It's like the reciprocation of listening and hearing and listening and talking and back and forth with intelligence and smart questions. And then because you are a goal-oriented person and you're thinking, okay, here's some things I'd like to do, dream about, ambitious, but at the same time, feminine, very feminine. Feminine to me was like, that allowed me to be my masculine, even though I didn't understand how to even say what I just said back then.
Right.
But there was instinctively, I was like, I don't want masculine.
Yeah.
I'm the masculine.
Right, exactly.
So the balance of let's have a healthy balance between, and because you're like into Victoria magazine, into tea rooms, you're into, the movies you like, everything said feminine, the pinks and the flowers and the this and that, but that was very attractive. Like, if you're thinking package deal, that was part of it. And of course, musical. It was illegal for Pentecostal preachers to marry somebody that doesn't play the organ.
That seems to be the standard.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of setting.
I know.
If you're going to be a preacher or a pastor,
it's an inside
your
joke.
wife has to do such and so, where we come from. Remember one day thinking, oh my goodness, he has never dated much. I'm sure you had dated. I know I had dated quite a bit and had a little more experience in the sense
hundreds, probably.
No, not hundreds, but I wasn't loose or anything like that. I had a high standard.
Yeah.
And my dates were usually, it wouldn't last. And I would, for some reason, because I was very stonewally safety at that particular time, I think it was probably just my own instinct. The dates would only last maybe a couple times, and then I would cut it off. I knew I'd find something to say, okay, no, he's not the one for me. I probably set too high of a standard, which is silly, but I think it was more protective of me. Now that I'm an adult, I can actually see why I set. I remember thinking, okay, he's not dated that much. I probably need to let him go, because we did start dating and we had more, our letters became more into a future for together and that sort of thing. And I remember thinking, I don't want to hold him back. God may be doing something different. And so I remember going out and finding a card. And the card was, in the front of it was a cage with 2 birds that somebody had let loose. Mm-hmm. So I remember writing you this letter saying that I really liked you. You were everything that I would love to have in a husband. But I felt like you were still young. Mm-hmm. And you really needed to have more experience. And if it was meant to be, we'll fly back together. So, and I sent it off, and thinking, this is the best thing I need to do. And then you received it, and what happened?
Oh, I wasn't very happy because I communicate differently. And I just thought, well, there was no clear message of this before. And then for her it was kind of like a text message would be today. Instead of it being verbal and something that would be that important, I was like, it should be on the phone at least. But for it to be in a letter. And then, no, I was pretty upset for a little hour or two, but I just thought it was, oh no, she moving on and whatever. It kind of turned me against her for a while because I was like, I don't want to play this game. If it's clear, it's clear. If it's not, it's not. And so, that was the only memory I really have around it. There was definitely a disappointment and hurt a little bit. Like, what in the world does that mean? If you're meant to be, but tell about the two bird thing has always after that.
Yes. After that, our theme has always been two birds. And so I think we might even have two birds on our wedding cake, and so when we buy each other, cards, so a lot of times we'll find beautiful two birds somewhere.
I don't know if this is true. I heard it's true, but I heard that cranes, our last name Crane, mate for life. And that there's certain species of birds who mate for life, like doves and so forth and geese and all that. But that was also sort of part of the story is, hey, we're two birds. We mate for life. And so even from the breakup, so to speak, which turned out to be the best thing, really.
Yes.
Later on, we see that.
Because you really focused in on getting closer and honing in and see what God wanted for you. And you just...
Yeah. I'm proud of myself for that because I turned my focus to becoming better, stronger, and not for you, but just me. I needed to be better, young like that. I did turn my focus and just became even more focused on ministry and prayer and studying the Word, getting to know the Word, the best I could do at that time.
Right.
But yeah, that I don't know what year. I think what was I, 16, 17, maybe even 17?
17.
Probably because then the next couple of years really.
Right. Year later, through just the way God put it together, Anthony came and he moved to Columbia, where I was at, to be the youth pastor and work in their Christian church. And this was the first time he'd ever been away from his home, moved away, out of culture, because he comes from Branson area. And they have a culture all of their own. Even the churches there, of that particular denomination, they have a different style. And so this was all new for you. Mm-hmm. You come to Columbia where high education.
Yeah, it's in the same state, but it's like a whole different world.
Everybody speaks differently.
Very strange culture for me.
The words are very precise and a lot of big words. And, and the culture in the church is different. A lot of them are educated doctors. Yeah. Lawyers.
Just as an example, everyone there, they were having this play and they needed someone to play this backwoods country guy in this play. And they chose me because, I can handle that. But I was in total shock. They would make fun of my words. Like I would say oil and they're like, you mean oil? And I'm like, I'm pronouncing it right. You're the ones that's wrong, but it was just overall culture shock for me, even though it's in the same state. It's just like worlds apart culturally. So, I was.
So now we're working together in the same church. Mm-hmm. And you, at that particular time, I don't think you didn't come there for me per se, but.
That's what you think. No.
But you did really well. I mean, for not knowing. I know you struggled, just because you didn't know.
Had no clue.
Yeah, and you were so young.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
And there was a struggle there, trying to figure it all out. However, about 6 months to a year later...
Less
than that? Okay.
It was October when, what was it? There was something that happened where... Was it the rodeo? There was something happened where you and I sort of reconnected again.
Yes.
And you were the only person I knew up there. So I did connect with you as far as, familiarity. You helped me to get to know everything and the area and so forth. And it was just kind of like, hey.
And I actually was dating somebody else.
Right. You were dating someone else.
From Gateway College at that particular time.
Yeah.
That didn't last very long. I broke that off.
Well, compared to me, you were like, no. But what it was October or so. I remember the weather. There was like a rodeo. or something like that. And it was like a group event. So there was a bunch of people from the church went, and it was kind of like, hey, you want to go together? I just remember sort of feeling there was something happening between us. We've always had chemistry.
We always have.
Or at least during that, when we shifted into the dating part, we always had great chemistry. But like in the car, I remember just feeling like I like her a lot and I want to be close to her. I remember us holding hands. Mm-hmm. I remember that part. And just a side note, it was my rule.
Yeah.
That there was to be no physical besides possibly side hug and maybe some hand holding, but no I wanted kissing. To set I wanted to set
until
a boundary.
We were engaged.
Right. And then it was only for me to just say, look, and then I expressed that. You respected that.
Yeah.
But the rodeo, I thought maybe the first, and then didn't we have, I don't think it was shortly after that we had a date at
Devil's Ice
Devil's Ice Box,
which was a state park.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was dark and we almost got lost.
Yeah.
Back there, but that was kind of adventurous.
Taco Bell, we ate. I remember kind of trying to find, and we almost got lost. Like right before dark, we were trying to find our way back out. Kind of got turned around, and and you were pretending to be scared so that I would help you, and but no, we got out of there.
All my feminine ways.
You knew what you were doing.
Let's see, we got really serious and we dated from that till you were almost 19.
Well, yeah. So December, between Christmas and New Year's Eve, I took you to Olive Garden. Mm-hmm. And I was not 100% sure if we should move into the engagement period or not. It was sort of this, some people thought, hey, it's a little too early. There's different opinions on it. And I wasn't sure either, but I knew that we had talked about it. Mm-hmm. Because we moved pretty fast from October to December because we'd already knew, we had all this history already. So it wasn't like getting to know each other from start. We sort of just picked up where we left off, and then it got fast. Mm-hmm. And so by December, and I was trying to trick you, I think of my little honoriness, I was trying to trick you into thinking that I was going to ask you at Christmas.
I thought so too, yeah.
So
however,
I pretended.
You gave yourself away when you said.
What'd I do?
You said, I'm going to take you to a special dinner and be sure to dress up because it's a special dress up.
Hardee's again, probably.
No, it was Olive Garden.
Oh, Olive Garden.
And anyway, so this is the coolest thing. So I get there. Actually, you pick me up, and we're sitting. He's already got the reservations. We're sitting, and all right. So we always order Tour of Italy. That is our favorite, which comes out Tour of Life, our ministry that God created through us. And so that's where the name came from, because Tour of Italy, I don't know. It just sort of fit. And that's how we are. That's how our personality, we're creative like that. So anyway, we love it. And to this day, we still always that's our go-to. And I was in the middle of eating, and I had a special gift for him just in case he was going to ask me. And I thought to myself, oh no, what if he asked me in front of all these people at Olive Garden, and he's going to make this, it's going to be so embarrassing. And so anyway, I noticed he kept getting fidgety, and he kept getting up and leaving and then coming back. And I'm like, what is going on? What were you doing?
So before internet and text and all that, I had to depend completely on them remembering to be there at a certain time. So what I did was I calculated if we got to the restaurant at 6:30, that what would give us enough time to eat. So then I tried to calculate, 45 minutes. So 7:15, he should be pulling up. So it all had to be timed because I didn't want to rush. So you thought I was going to ask you during the meal.
Yes, I did.
But actually I was going out front to see, because I didn't have a cell phone.
Yeah.
So I was going out front to see if he was there yet. and trying to pretend like I was doing something else so you wouldn't catch on. But I did surprise you a little bit.
You did completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when he said, okay, it's time to go. And I was like, I hadn't even finished the meal yet, but I was like willing to just go with the adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of like that, the yin to the yang.
Yep.
You're not as much as
No.
I am, and I'm very pivoty. And so I could pivot on a dime and just, I'm very adventurous. So it's like, hey, what's down that road? Anyway, I digress. So I get up, I gather my things, and I follow him out the front door. I guess he's already paid by then. And I get out there, and there is a limousine. And he had rented a limousine. And so we get in this limousine, and the guy opens the door, we get in, and he has Kenny G playing. And then, very romantic. And then he tries to get on one knee as we're traveling. He's just kind of going around Columbia. He gets on one knee in the limo, and he gives me this beautiful speech about how God's put us together and he loves me, and we see a great future, that sort of thing, and will you marry me? So he pulls out the ring, but he also gives me a gift, and it is a precious moments, and it's a figurine where the little boy's on his knee asking the girl with a sign saying, will you marry me, yes or no? So I said, of course, yes. And it was the sweetest, most dainty little diamond. It was so precious. And I love that ring. That was very surprising. So we had a lot of fun. I think we turned up Kenny G.
Yep.
Do you remember? I think we even stood up.
The sunroof came back, and we were able to, because it was the perfect weather. I don't know how, being in December, but it was great weather. And we just, it was dark by then, and we were circling around the downtown. I don't really know exactly where we were, but it was just beautiful.
It was fun.
Magical.
It was fun. So that's how we became engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And then got married April 17th, a year
4
later.
months later.
4 months later?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my word. For real?
Fast.
I don't remember. Oh, yeah. I should remember this stuff.
I know. You were in such a hurry. And
No, I don't think so. I had too much to plan. This is a beautiful wedding I've got to plan. Oh, but it was so amazing. Our wedding was fabulous.
Mm.
We had an all-girls choir sing off the balcony. We had an all-women's ensemble. We had some mini orchestra kind of music off to the side. It was just a beautiful wedding. And Sister Bentley was talented, and she helped me with all the planning. And they had so much stashed in their attic and at the church from previous weddings and things, but it turned out to be absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
And God just opened every door. I never had to worry. To the Model A that was waiting for us to take us to the place where we were going to celebrate.
Yeah.
And from the cake to your mom sewing all the clothes, the beautiful dresses for the bridesmaids, and gorgeous, like velvet hunter green. And it was just so pretty.
Yep.
And that's something I always remember, down to the bird seed. I mean, like that was velvet roses, and they would flicker them out as they, we'd go to it was a Model A, and we got in there. But it was kind of amazing. The whole thing was amazing.
It really is.
And so the reception was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Down to, they even had a small drama planned for us, which was fun. It was a comedy. And something
Harry
I don't
Connick
regret.
Jr. had to be you. They passed around my big old size 14 shoe to collect honeymoon fund or something. I don't know what. And then the great cake, a beautiful cake. My Aunt Ernestine was a part of that, and the main part of that.
Yeah, beautiful cake. I mean,
amazing.
Tears on stacked on all the sides. All in all, we look back and it was
fast because we had to get back to school. That being that it was still part of the school year, and so the first night, Branson, it was hilarious because we had no plan at all on food, and we get there and find out Domino's Pizza is special, $1 for their medium pizzas or something, large pizza. I had no clue. And so I got two for $2.
One for you, one for me. For $2.
Oh,
a whole
that's
pizza.
so funny.
I mean, really good.
Great pizza. I was like, what the
pizzas.
world?
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Because we'd gotten in so late, from
Yeah.
traveling. This is a part of our journey, and we wanted to start our podcast of you getting to know a little bit about us and Anthony and myself. And we are so excited to start this podcast because we have come a long, long way.
So what I believe God has ordained for us to share is, as a couple and as individuals, how God has orchestrated this. It's like an architect taking every piece of our lives when we were teenagers, when we were in our 20s and ministry and so forth, and looking back, we can see his hand guiding us and helping us out of certain things and into certain things and opening up doors for our understanding. And what that looks like are some traumas, some difficult times, some amazing times, some times where it's like he opened light to us where we could see things that we could not see before, spiritually speaking, ministry-wise. And God would just continue to lead. And so this being 2025, I can look back at the 90s and the early 2000s and so forth and see how God has led us, both of us, to where we are now. And so it is my sincere hope, it is our sincere prayer that maybe something out of our story could inspire and encourage and possibly open some doors for you too. That maybe things that you've never thought about or never seen, and from that perspective, that would provide such tremendous peace and rest and security in your own life. And so that is the stories that we want to start talking about next in relation to that as well. So
so we're going to, on our next podcast, we're going to talk about some personal traumas of our childhood and stories that we've had to go through as kids and teenagers, personally, not together, but separate in our families. That's kind of shaped us, and I really feel like some people are going to be able to relate. I pray that you come back, and we'll announce for future podcasts that are coming up, and we just love for you to be a part, hear our stories. Maybe you can, like he said, it can relate with something that you've got going on in your life, and maybe it makes more sense or helps you or blesses you in any way. So until next time, this is the
Grace Exchange.